The first Chinese empire was founded in 221 BC, when the state of Qin finally unified the country. The Qin Empire was short-lived, which was succeeded by a new dynasty, the Han Dynasty. The Han was one of China's most glorious epochs. It experienced a period of tremendous power and prestige, expanding in an unprecedented fashion in material, cultural and diplomatic fields. The unification of China during this period greatly boosted the development of ceramic art, which was mainly reflected in pottery sculptures, a spectacular accomplishment in Chinese history. These achievements are exemplified by the life-size terracotta soldiers and horses buried in the mausoleum of the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, located near the modern town of Xi'an, as well as numerous small-sized pottery figures recovered from various Han Dynasty tombs. These pottery figures were called yong in Chinese, a word derived from the ancient funerary custom of dealing with death just as with life, to provide the deceased with an environment just as in real life so that the dead can live their afterlife. Figurines representing servants, guards and performers were all created as burial objects. These tomb figurines as well as toys in the shape of animals were collectively referred to as yong. The great discovery made in 1974 truly shocked the world. With its unprecedented artistic expression and grandness of scale, the terracotta warriors uncovered near the tomb of Qin Shi Huang are a treasure to human civilization. The exquisite terracotta yong of the first Qin dynasty ruler represents the emperor's ability to control the resources of the newly unified China, and his attempt to recreate and maintain that empire in the afterlife. More than 8,000 lifelike and life-sized warriors, horses and chariots were presented in 8 formations, strategy of Sun's art of war, chariots to be used on flat ground, horsemen on steep ground, crossbows in the rear. The human figures consists of combat warriors, foot soldiers, cavalries and chariots, as well as guard troops at the flanks. Each of the soldiers were made to resemble unique personalities with different signs showing their ages and ranks. One can almost tell their hometowns from the very detailed and specific appearances. All the warriors wore plated armors with belts fastened and hair tied in a knot, ready to conquer the battlefields. Some soldiers held bows and crossbows in their hands with pouches full of arrows carried on their backs. Others held long spears with swords and scimitar. Still others were middle-aged strongmen with jagged beards and mustache or younglings with unrelenting energy. Look closely and one can even find, among the warriors, long-bearded elders with thin faces, or fearless fighters who can overcome anything in their way. The commanders' forms were the most impressive and astounding, with tall helmets, intricate armor and long broadswords. Immersed in deep contemplation, the terracotta warriors were not gray but colorful when they were originally made. They generally had black hair, pink faces, purple or red gowns, black armor, light green pants and black shoes. However, after being buried underground for over 2,200 years, the terracotta warriors' original colors faded or peeled off after being excavated. This is a green-faced warrior. According to his posture, he once had a crossbow in right hand, with his right knee on the ground. He seems well prepared to join in a battle. He is the only one with green face among all the unearthed over 2,000 terracotta warriors, which won him great fame. Then why does he have a green face? There are many guesses about this. Some experts think he is a necromancer in the troop, and some believe his green face is to frighten enemy. Some people even deem that the craftsman applied green because flesh color happened to be used up. And even after more than 2,200 years, Those remaining colors can still help us recognize the eyeballs and white part of the eyes. The red hair band wrapped around the bun is very distinct. Besides his face, the colors on the rest of the body also haven't completely faded. You can see there is something blue around his neck. That is not a scarf, but the collar of his jerkin. Archaeologists have figured out how the brilliant colors were achieved. After firing, the earthenware figures were first covered with brown lacquer, with pigments derived from cinnabar for red or vermilion, malachite for green, and so on added later. Unfortunately, the use of the thick lacquer ground on which the colors were placed may have contributed to the rapid and extreme loss of the original colors from these figures upon their exposure to air after excavation. Research shows that the terracotta figures were created in separate pieces and then assembled together. Below are the 6 main steps in the manufacture of terracotta warriors. Obtaining the yellow clay, making the separate parts, head, torso, short tunic, arms, legs and hands, assembly, parts together, carving the body details and facial features, firing in a kiln after being air-dried, painting details and coloring. In groups of 4, robust terracotta horses were seen with well-equipped war chariots. Each horse is life-size, about 1.7 meters in height and 2 meters in length. Similar to the real war horses of the Qin Dynasty, with both eyes staring straight ahead, mouth opened slightly, and strong musculature. The chariot horse shown here has a bold air and looks poised for battle. Besides, it is worth mentioning that the ancient craftsmen were clever and innovative enough to take the advantage of light to show the rich levels and vivid images of the horses. Like thousands of terracotta warriors, these energetic and passionate horses perfectly embody not only the military might and prosperous state of Qin, but also the aesthetic ideals of the developing art of Chinese ceramics. One of the very highly accomplished forms of ceramic art in Han Dynasty was sculpture, the pottery sculptures. The categories, numbers, body and technical quality of figures produced at this time had all reached unprecedented high levels. However, after entering the West Han Dynasty, those life-size sculptures found in Qin Shiheng's tomb had already become a thing of the past. By the Middle West Han Dynasty, earthen figures began to show a new style, with bolder and freer sculpting techniques. No longer confined by the style of detailed human feature depiction that was prevalent in Qin and early Han sculptures. The newer style was more focused on overall simplicity and suggestive forms. Also, the subject matter and object matter were also more inclusive and varied. More depictions of folk living and amusement can be found. From West Han to East Han, the subject matters of earthen figures have become even more rich and inclusive. There were models of carriages hauled by handsome stallions, as well as throngs of male and female servants, music and dancer performers and so on, all of which were common subject matters of making sculptures all the time. Comical caricatures of performers were especially popular during this period of time. Used as tomb figurines, they provided entertainment in the afterlife, and an entire troupe might be interred with the deceased. This drummer specialized in a kind of storytelling that was part spoken, part sung. This one sings merrily, his brow wrinkled in laughter. His heavy body suggests he may be a dwarf. Performers of similar build appear on Han tomb tiles decorated with scenes of juggling and sword balancing. Although Han tomb figures were mass-produced, this type is surely one of the most engaging and expressive examples of Han Dynasty figural art. Han earthenware tomb figures are a product of the cultural resurgence that followed the unification of China under the Qin, and are a major achievement of Han sculpture. These figures are executed boldly yet feature exquisite style and elegant designs. They are both natural and classical, and embody the majestic as well as vivacious spirit of Han art, thereby reflecting the deepest emotions and grandest ambitions of the Chinese people.